Missouri takes down number 1 Kansas 76-67, a huge win not just for Missouri but also the SEC as a whole as the conference continues to dominate the college basketball landscape. After finishing 0-18 in SEC play last year, this is a huge program-building win for Dennis Gates as the Tigers are now off to an 8-1 start. It's been a banner year for SEC basketball so far. Auburn wins the Maui Invitational, Oklahoma wins the Battle for Atlantis, the conference gets a decisive 14-2 win in the SEC-ACC Challenge, and now they have one of the programs projected to finish in the bottom tier of the conference standings, taking down the number 1 team in the country. As of right now, all 16 SEC teams are in the top 68 on KenPom, including 5 in the top 10. If the bottom of the conference is getting these types of wins, we're on pace to see what? 14 SEC teams in the NCAA tournament? Unreal. As far as specifics from the game go, this is the second consecutive loss for the Kansas Jayhawks, and they just feel like a team that doesn't really know what their identity is outside of having good players on the roster. The big sell for this year's Kansas team was they added a collection of dynamic wings who could score, create shots, give consistent offense, and that was definitely absent in this game. Zeke Mayo, 2 for 6, 4 points. AJ Storr, 1 for 7, 2 points. Rylan Griffin, 1 for 2, 3 points. As far as Rylan Griffin goes, I've been a little confused with how Bill Self has used him thus far. I think he's one of the 2 best shooters on this team, but it feels like he hasn't been maximized, like he has a short leash and hasn't really been given the chance to show what he can do, and it's especially obvious in a game where Zeke Mayo and AJ Storr shoot so poorly. What I mean when I say I'm not sure what Kansas's identity is, the Jayhawks are coming off a loss to Creighton where DeJuan Harris took 21 shots. He took 14 in this one, second most on the team behind Hunter Dickinson, and that's just not a recipe for success. Like, what is the plan here? Who are you playing through? Are you playing through Harris? Because that's not going to work. Are you playing through Hunter Dickinson? He had 7 turnovers in this game. Kansas had 22 as a team. Are you playing through the collection of wings that you went in the portal to get? Then you got to trust him. Why is Zeke Mayo only taking 6 shots? The Jayhawks' main issue last season was a lack of depth. They just didn't have the bodies. This year they do, and it feels like Bill Self doesn't really trust them. So now they're playing through Dickinson and Harris to such a degree that it creates the same problem as last year. Except this time it's arguably worse because it doesn't have to be this way. It's entirely self-inflicted. On the Missouri side, Bates led the way with 29 points, one game after Anthony Robinson dropped 29 in the big comeback win over Cal. Robinson had 11 in this one. Mark Mitchell, the Duke transfer, not super efficient, but had 17 points of his own. Dennis Gates clearly said, the starters are taking us all the way in this one. The bench had just 4 points on 4 total shots. Like I said, huge win for Dennis Gates in Missouri, one that's going to age very well for them as the season progresses. Kansas has some questions, some things to figure out. The Jayhawks will fall from number 1 in the rankings after 2 consecutive losses, but if you ask me, Auburn should have been number 1 in the country entering this week anyway.